What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 5, Episode 7. So let's get into it. We start off with Melody. She invites Stormy over to her place of business because she needs Stormy to help her with something to do with taking pictures of her product and marketing her product, because it seems like Stormy is the girl that is doing that thing in the world of business. Stormy tells Melody that she got to deal with Target now to distribute her products in Target, and that Melody and that Walmart is going to, I guess, expand shelf space for her product. She's already in Walmart, but they're going to give her more shelf space. I'm not really sure, but she's doing big things with Walmart, doing big things with Target. So congratulations to Stormy. Then they start talking about the mess. So Stormy tells Melody that she met up with Destiny and they had a conversation and they squashed their beef. And Melody's like, yeah, y'all should never have even been beefing in the first place because y'all don't even know each other enough to even have beef. So they squashed their beef, but Stormy says it's not like we're BFF or anything. It's not like we're going to be, kumbayaing and hanging out and going shopping together. I don't really want to hang with her like that, but we just don't have any beef anymore. Then they talk about Tiffany. So Stormy says she met up with Tiffany and they were talking about what went down at the Madani. And Stormy said that Tiffany seemed to be really inclined to believe that Melody had started everything and that Melody had made this beeline to Miss Wanda, like she was ready to fight Miss Wanda or something. So Stormy tells Melody that she had to set Tiffany straight. It was not Melody that was trying to start fighting. It was actually Miss Wanda who got all up in Melody's face. So she had to set the record straight, but it seemed like Tiffany was leaning towards believing that Melody was the one that was problematic. And my whole thing is, if that's true, if Tiffany wants to believe that Melody started this, then girl, I mean, like, why do you want to believe anything negative about Melody? Because that was your BFF when you went to go look for your pappy. Remember, you chose Melody. You kicked your husband out of the frame and you inserted Melody because you wanted Melody to come with you to go find your pappy. But now all of a sudden you want to believe that Melody is out there trying to fight senior citizens. Like, why do you want to believe the worst in Melody? I don't understand. If that was the case, then you should have just had your husband go with you to go look for your dad. Moving on from there. So Tiffany, she's at her office. After she's done with her business meeting, Lewis comes over and they start talking about babies. So Tiffany says that she's going to get her IUD removed. And so she needs to know from Lewis, is he okay with her not putting the IUD back in so they can start trying for a baby? Lewis is like, yeah, he's down, he's cool, it's whatever. So Tiffany says that in the beginning of their marriage, they have both decided that they were not going to have any more children. They were okay with the two that they already had. He had a son and she had a son. So now she's changed her mind and she's taken accountability for changing her mind and now wanting to have another child. So she wants to give it the good old college try. She says she's going to give it a try for 6 months. They're going to try for 6 months to have a baby. And if it doesn't work in 6 months, then they're going to go ahead and she's going to go ahead and put the IUD back in. Because we're not really in control of our fertility, it's up to nature, it's up to God, it's up to biology, whatever you want to call it. I would say that they need to give it like a good year and a half before they, decide to give up. 6 months is really not long enough. So Lewis is like, whatever, we can try for 6 months, we can try for longer than 6 months. It's just whatever is in God's plan. So good for them. They're going to try to have a baby. Now it's time for the meeting of the original 6. So Martell had planned this meeting for all the original 6 couples to get together like they did in season 1 when they all got back together to restart the comeback group or whatever the hell they were doing back then. So all 6 couples, Martell had invited all 6 couples to basically talk about what happened at the Madani. So on the way to the meeting, Tisha is riding with her husband, Marceau, and she wants to call her mom to get her mom's side of the story. So she calls Miss Wanda to find out exactly what happened because Tisha wasn't there at the very, very beginning when Miss Wanda and Melody had their initial confrontation. Tisha was inside trying to calm down Destiny. So she came in like halfway through when things had already gotten completely out of hand. So Miss Wanda was telling her that the only reason why she said what she said about Melody needing to go find her baby daddy was because it was just in response to Melody saying that Miss Wanda's baby daddy slid into her DMs. And so she was just trying to respond to that. And she's only repeating what Martell had already put out there. So Tisha, her whole entire facade of trying to like, oh, I want to get both sides of the story. I want to know the full truth of what happened. I want to hear Melody's side and my mother's side. And girl, you don't want to hear nobody's side but Ms. Wanda's side. We already know how you and your mother roll. Okay, you're gonna believe whatever your mother says, and that's that. So stop playing games with the people, acting like you're so diplomatic and you're gonna be so fair. Girl, please. So when they get to the restaurant, they sit there. Both of the Scott couples show up and they're waiting for Melody and Martell to show. So Melody and Martell arrive and Martell pulls out Melody's chair for her. And in Maurice's confessional, he noticed that. I'm like, why did you zone in on that? Like, what's the big deal about that? So in his confessional, Maurice says, it made it look like they're back together again. They're not back together. Okay. Martell is a gentleman. He's a charmer. And this is the reason why he's always getting into trouble with women, because he's so charming. And then pulling out a chair for Melody, he would have done that for any female. He would have done that for Miss Wanda, because that's just how his mother raised him. That's just how he is. I mean, come on now. Don't put 20 on 10, Maurice. So Tisha wants to know where the blame lies. And okay. Anyways, so Melody says that she has kept quiet for a very long time, as Miss Wanda throughout the years has been constantly throwing jabs at her. Tisha is like, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Y'all do it to each other. You throw jabs at her and she throws jabs at you. Well, now that Melody's, damn sick of it. Yeah. Now they're going back and forth with one another. But I think what Melody was trying to say is that for a long, long time, both Tisha and her mother have always been saying little snide remarks here and there, especially Miss Wanda. She's always been saying something. And out of respect for this being, your friend's mother, Melody had normally kind of just let it go, but she couldn't let it go no more, especially when she brought up her children. Now, the first time Miss Wanda had to be checked by the Holtz was when Miss Wanda talked about Melody and Martell's daughter's hair. Now, what kind of grown black woman would sit up there and attack and criticize little black children's hair, when as a community, as a collective, we are always trying to let our daughters know, and our sons, hey, your hair is beautiful in its natural state. You don't have to have, Eurocentric looking hair for your hair to be considered beautiful. Your hair is pretty the way it is, etc., etc., etc. We're always trying to get our children to love themselves as they are, from the top of their heads to the bottom of their feet. And here you come. Oh, I was about to say something bad. Here you come, Miss Wanda, talking about children's hair, trying to compare Melody's daughter's hair to Tisha's daughter's hair. Why would any black woman, as old as you are, Miss Wanda, why would you say anything like that? So Miss Wanda, to me, she comes across as someone who has absolutely no home training. I don't know if she was raised in the streets. I don't know if she was raised in the backwoods of Alabama. I don't know if in the mountains. I have no idea where this woman was raised and why she is the way she is. But Miss Wanda is so incredibly gutter, nasty mouthed, just disgusting. The things that she says about people, really bad. Just like, like she lived all her days just wandering the streets. So they talk about how Miss Wanda, they all collectively agree that Miss Wanda is an issue. She's extremely problematic when she gets on social media. And then the people on social media, they pump her up. And so that just gets her going more and more and more. Marceau says, oh, okay. So there was so Maurice had told Melody, instead of reacting the way you did at the Madani, why didn't you just pick up the phone and give her a call? And I was like, Maurice, what? So it's okay for Miss Wanda to attack Melody and her child on social media on a public forum, but then Melody has to respond in private. Okay. Marceau then says that he agrees with Melody that she reacted the way that she should have reacted. Marceau went a step further and said, the reason why I agree with that is because you did the same thing. And I agreed with you. When Tiffany said whatever she said about Monster vaping, Maurice didn't pick up the phone to call Tiffany and have a private conversation. He made sure that the cameras were rolling, that they were filming, and he checked her right then and there on camera in public. So why should Melody do her things under the cover of night when you're confronting people that talked about your kid publicly? And she was doing the same thing. This woman said something about her child. She was going to address it publicly. So what are you talking about? She should have picked up the phone and called her. So even though Marceau, I don't agree with him like 99% of the time, this is that 1% time that I totally agreed with Marceau. And I was like, bravo, Marceau, bravo. Yes. Thank you for making that point to Maurice. So Marceau even said that he didn't he didn't want Miss Wanda around his kids. He said that she's gotten so bad he doesn't want that type of atmosphere around his own children. And I was sitting there looking at Tisha like waiting for her to respond, but she said not a damn thing. So Maurice says that Wanda, okay, she's being pumped up by social media. So then the conversation moves to Mark, because Kimmy had said that if y'all are going to give Miss Wanda all this heat and talking about she can't be around the kids, then y'all got to do the same thing to y'all's brother Mark. Now Mark is the older brother of both Marceau and Maurice. And supposedly he's out there on social media wilding out. They said they said that Mark is very outspoken. He's extremely aggressive. Maurice, Maurice said that what got Mark started was what Melody's mother, Vanessa, had said on the reunion. Because at the reunion, the Scotts were trying to say, and Martell were trying to say that Vanessa was dating their brother, Mark, when she worked for Scolt. And Miss Vanessa completely downplayed and minimized that whole entire relationship. She says, nope, we were not dating. He was not my man. We were just friends. So Kimmy says that the reason why Mark is the way he is on social media is because he had his feelings hurt by Vanessa. Vanessa completely dismissed him, minimized her relationship with him. And so that got him all up in his feelings. And that's why he's wilding out on social media. Melody tried to say that no, Mark was problematic way before then. Kimmy said that what's good for Wanda needs to be good for Mark. Kimmy says that the original 6 are fine, but it's the outside people that are really causing the problems. The peripheral people, your Marks, your Miss Wandas. And Kimmy seemed really bothered by Mark. I mean, she really wanted the two brothers to check Mark because she kept on bringing up Mark several times. And I'm like, Kimmy, is Mark talking about you too? Is he saying things about you too? Like, what's going on here? So the bottom line, at the end of this meeting or at the end of this dinner, they all agreed that, hey, we need to be more careful with how we are on social media. Tisha, you're going to have to do something about your mom because she's really out of control. She's really wilding out. So let's just not talk about each other. Let's definitely not talk about each other's children on social media. And let's just be more civil with one another. And they all cheered to moving forward. So this is the bottom line. I've said all I can about Miss Wanda. She's extremely problematic. Tisha and her mother are problematic. There's a lot of jealousy I feel like that they have towards Melody. Because a lot of the times, if we're watching Melody, if we have a scene with Melody, she's not really talking about Tisha that much. She rarely will mention Tisha. But then whenever we see Tisha or Miss Wanda, they're constantly talking about the Holts. They talked about the Holts when they were married, constantly talking about, ooh, Martell cheating on Melody. Martell cheating. Martell got outside kids. Then they got divorced. They're not together no more. And still you got Melody's name in your mouth. Why? I'm hoping that it's not like why are they so jealous of Melody? I don't understand. Tisha claims that her marriage has always been a whole lot better than Melody's marriage. Well, Melody's not divorced, so you've got nothing to compare anymore. So what can you compare yourself with to Melody? She's no longer married, so you can't no longer brag about how your husband is better than her husband. Your husband never cheated on you. Your husband never had any outside kids on you. So now that Martell and Melody are no more, why do you still feel the need to continue to talk about her? I just don't understand. Is it because you're still angry that she shed the truth on your relationship, on your husband? I don't understand. Melody is doing her thing, living her best life, away from Martell, single, happy, ready to mingle, and Martell still has love for her. Martell is still looking out for her. Now, that's the most fantastic thing about Love and Marriage Huntsville is how Melody and Martell will automatically unite for the good of one another and their children. That's what I find is extremely impressive, that when they need to unite, because when they were married, they were really good at that. They could be having the worst fight in history, but when it came to presentation and how they presented themselves to the public, they were always as one. Same thing now that they're divorced. It came, their children, people are out there talking about their kids immediately. Somebody's talking about Martell, Melody is up to do whatever to defend Martell. Somebody's talking about Melody, the same thing, vice versa. Martell is there for Melody because they're still family. They still got kids together. So that's a beautiful thing how they're able to connect like that. And it's just a shame that Martell had to mess it up, with cheating on Melody. It's a damn shame. I don't think Martell will ever find he could live to be 1,000,000 years old. He will never find a woman who was as down with their unity, their partnership, their marriage as much as Melody was. He never will. He never will, because they are always there for one another. And that is some true loyalty. And I know they got their issues. They got their custody issues, visitation issues that, goes without saying for most divorced couples. But as far as like when it comes to protecting one another and protecting the Holt name and protecting their children, yeah, they're there for that. They're there for one another for that. And, yeah, it is what it is. I just don't understand why Tisha and Wanda constantly have to be talking about. Oh, and another thing that I got to say about Melody. So when Melody and Martell when they first filed for divorce, before the divorce was even final, when it was still really, really fresh and the feelings were extremely raw, they would always start, no matter what was going on. If you invited both of them together at an event, it always ended in a fight, constantly. And Melody is the kind of person where her buttons are very easily pushed. If you say anything about Melody, she's going to respond. She's going to react. So Martell kept on pushing her buttons. And it came to a point where it was almost like a game to Martell to see what he could say to get a reaction out of Melody. And I feel like that with Miss Wanda, she needs to just not let that woman bother her. Miss Wanda is gutter. She's too far gone. The streets got into her too deep, or the backwoods, wherever she came from, it is in her too deep. She is too far gone. She cannot learn any more lessons. You cannot teach an old dog new tricks. She cannot learn any lessons. She's always going to be the way she is. And so Melody, please, please, please rise above the mess when it comes to Miss Wanda. Don't let the things that woman say bother you and trigger you, because she's ignorant as hell. Miss Wanda is ignorant as hell. She is so gutter. You don't want to get yourself down to her level where you're going toe to toe with somebody who's so beneath you, because then you're just looking at very low vibration people arguing with one another. Rise above it all, Melody. Don't let what that woman says bother you. Don't let what Tisha say bother you. You're living your best life, doing your thing with your children, making moves. Don't worry about these people. Anyways, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, do not forget to rate the video. And if you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.